All right, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're here tonight with what I think will be an ongoing series. Once Johnny mutes his thank you. An ongoing series with my man Jonathan Beauregard from Indestructible Souls, breaking down Ice Cube's contract with America. It's worth some serious analysis, and it's a good touch point and talking point for us to delve into, this movement. Starting from George Floyd, the more attention to Black Lives Matter, and now what Ice Cube came out with, which I think, not to get ahead of ourselves, I think will be something that's more fruitful in the long run once we flesh out some of the details. And it's very, it's high level, but it's also in depth. I think for tonight's episode, we're just going to scratch the surface and give you guys the broad strokes. So without further ado, I'm not going to do my random thoughts today. I might just interject in the middle of our serious conversation if it gets a little too heavy, right? With some advice for men for how to, deal with women. Things of that nature. Things I help y'all with. It's not just black empowerment. It's also, get and learn and improving your life and things of that nature. And also random observations, some funny shit, some shit that upsets me, and just epiphanies and observations and things of that nature. But like I was saying, without further ado, here's my man, the one, the only, the homie from the E, JB. Let me give you a
what's up? Can you hear me?
All right. I think to set it up, folks might have heard about the contract of Black America. During this conversation, we're actually going to read directly from it. And they might have heard a controversy about Ice Cube, quote unquote, working with Trump. So let's play that video where he's getting interviewed by your boy Chris Cuomo on CNN. And the thing I love about Cube, because he did the same shit when he was on Bill Maher before, he's not about that punk shit. So he can sound intelligent. And then what are you doing?
Waiting on you.
Don't be looking down. It looks weird. This is television. I'm the producer and the star. I need to have the look right. What are you reading?
I'm pulling up the contract with Black America.
Okay, but right now I'm about to do that video first, the one you sent me a link to, the CNN thing.
Go for it.
All right. So check this out. Listen to Cube. I'm going to play about 3 minutes of this clip. We're going to watch together. Get your smoke right. Get your drink right. We're about to get learned. Here's Cube on Chris Cuomo, making him pump his brakes, putting him back on his heels with black intelligence. Here we go.
Administration. He wants to deal with it. I want to understand it. So should you. So here is Ice Cube on Prime Time. Thank you for taking the opportunity, brother. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Chris, your lead-ins are a little misleading.
How so?
Well, the Platinum Plan is not my plan. I came up with the contract with Black America, and I didn't run to go work with any campaign. Both campaigns contacted me. Both campaigns wanted to talk to me about the contract with Black America. One campaign said, we love what you have, but let's really dig into it after the election. And one campaign said, we love what you have. Do you mind talking to us about it?
And just to clarify for people, when he says one campaign said, let's deal with it after election, that's the Biden campaign, the Democrats who take your vote for granted. But here we go.
And that's what I did. So I didn't run to nobody. And so that was real misleading to me.
Well, I didn't say you ran
you
to
know,
anybody. I said that you had taken a pivot.
well, you said I ran over to the Trump team instead of the Biden team. That's just not true.
Well,
They
but
both
you are
contacted
working with the
me.
Trump team instead of the Biden team, and people are giving you heat for it. What do you say to them?
Well, I'm willing to work with both teams, but I'm just working with whoever is willing to work with me. So the Trump campaign came to me and asked me to explain to them some of the contract with Black America. That's what I did. I'm not playing no more of these games, these political games. We're not part of a team. We have very broad problems, especially the wealth gap in this country when it comes to Black Americans. So I'm going to whoever's in power, and I'm going to speak to them about our problems specifically. I'm not going there talking about minorities. I'm not going there talking about people of color or diversity or none of that stuff. I'm going there for Black Americans, the ones who are the descendants of slaves. And that's what I'm going to talk to anybody who's in power with that. So if anybody got a problem with that, it seems like a personal problem.
Well, here's the problem, and it is very personal, as you know, for a lot of people of color, because they'll say, well, why would you pick Trump when he says there's no such thing as systemic inequality? Say again?
I'm not picking nobody. He's the president.
But why do
He's
you
the
think
president.
he'd want to do something for the community when he says there's no such thing as systemic inequality?
I don't know what he want to do. I just know what the man said. I know what he said to the country. I've never met Donald Trump. So I don't know what he's going to do. I just know what he said he was going to do. So both of them have a plan. Both of them say they're going to do something. And who knows what's really going to happen after November 3rd. Nobody knows from each side. We're all hoping that candidates keep their campaign promises. So that's just it.
All right, let's go back here. The thing I love about it is there's more to it. Actually, like maybe if we get a dead spot, we can go back and watch some more of that. Is like he's very specific because that's what they try to do with, and I think this is the direction of Black Lives Matter stuff. Is this broad tint of like intersectionality, diversity. You know, they lump together, you know, trans and gay activism, diversity, people of color. No, we have unique problems as Black people that need to be addressed in a unique way, specifically, right? We don't have a problem when, you know, Jews want to do their thing or whatever, or women want to do their thing. Why is it now? It seems like whenever we talk about issues with Black people, we got to somehow be inclusive. And what he's saying is, no, we're talking about, he said, none of that stuff. We're talking about Black folks. And more importantly, I'm not picking sides. I'm not a blue team or red team. I'm the Black team, and it don't matter. Trump, Satan, Biden, it don't matter. Whoever's going to get the job done. What say you?
So, it's my turn to speak. So when I first heard, the whole controversy, and somebody said, well, Ice Cube is working with the Trump team. I knew it didn't sound right.
Right.
But it just didn't sound right because I don't know Ice Cube, but over the years, when he partnered up with the Nation of Islam and he took a lot of slack from, the Jewish community and things like that, he always stood solid.
Right.
So, and he's not one to shy away from the conversation. He's going to let you know exactly how he feels. So I'm glad that they brought him on. And, I'm a fan of D.L. Hughley and all these other people that got something to say. And I think too many people are jumping to conclusions and reading the headlines, but not.
What did D.L. Hughley say? I didn't hear it.
Basically, going at Cube. And here's D.L. Hughley's argument, which I agree with, is that Trump used Black people for props. He used them for photo ops with no substance, like when he pulled out Steve Harvey and all that stuff. If Trump really wanted systemic change, he would be walking across the aisle with the lawmakers, but he's quick to grab an entertainer for the aesthetics of it. So, that was D.L. Hughley's argument. But back to Cube, I agree in the sense that, maybe timing is off, maybe the look of it, but how else are you supposed to push the agenda if you don't go to the people in power?
That's the thing. It's like, I mean, it's like what they say, like the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different
Right.
result. Black folks have been supremely loyal to the Democrats for what, 60 years now, since Civil Rights Act was 1965. So we're going on 60 years of undying loyalty, right? Marriages don't last as long. People aren't as committed to their wives and husbands as black people are to Democrats. But hold on, and you have to just step back and see what has that yielded you, right? So D.L. Hughley is completely wrong. Yeah, you work with Trump. You work with your enemies because that's where you're going to see the most lift. Whoever's willing to do a deal. And I said that actually first. I said it first, right? A long time ago, I said Trump should come up with a reparations package, right? And basically say, look, you give me 25% of the black male vote, I'm giving y'all reparations.
Right.
And here's the thing. It's not that we see Trump's bigotry. We see him as the white nationalist he is, right?
Right.
But the question is, who's going to give us what we want, regardless of how much we like them? Because Biden gave us 2 crime bills.
Right. But, I get the crime bills and all that stuff, but you got to put it into context of the times. I'm not saying it was right. He recognizes it was a mistake, but
why? No, I got to stop here. Why do you say that?
So the reason why I say that, I'm not saying the crime bills were correct. They were not correct.
No, you said he recognizes a mistake. How do you know that?
He said it.
Okay, he said it, right? So
Why
politician says conveniently during an election, oh, that was a mistake.
Okay, I understand that. I'm just telling you what the man said.
Okay, but did you also read his proposal for police reform is to give $300 million new dollars to police? It's the same bag of tricks.
Okay, but so I get that. But what I'm saying is, a lot of times, I'm not saying that the crime bill was correct. We know it was wrong. We know it was disproportionately applied against, black people and all that stuff. I'm not negating that. So, but does that make Trump the choice? No.
But that's what Cube's saying. And I don't want to get bogged down this point. He's not saying Trump is the choice or not the choice. What he's saying is, here's the contract for Black America. And we as black people got to stop thinking of ourselves as Democrats. We got to think of ourselves as black people and black families that want we want something. Your vote is transactional. And that's what black people have to smarten up about politically. It's not about being more moral. It's about what do you get in exchange as far as how the pie is divided up for your vote. That's it.
Right. Right. And I agree with you 100%. What my beef was early on in this election cycle is that you had a lot of people saying, you got to earn a black vote, but nobody presented a plan. Ice Cube, to my knowledge, is the first one who presented a concrete plan.
Well, so just to be clear, and I love what Cube's doing. He even said it though. Like, he's not saying anything new. There's been other people with plans before, but the thing that's good about him, number one, we're gonna look at the website. It looks really good. He's famous, and we're talking about it. He's on CNN, and it's out there. So he gets credit for taking the mantle and running with it. But there's been generations of folks with plans. You know what I'm saying? So he's standing on the shoulders of those that done the work.
Right. No, I mean, I get all that, but I mean, do we have time to delve into all of that? What I do agree with him with, and I don't think anybody, for some reason, when we say we want something specifically and concretely for the black community, people shy away from that, and people have been afraid to do that, in my opinion. And I'm glad that he pointed it out, he's not talking about diversity. He's talking about specifically for the black community.
Right. But before we move on to the actual, see, here's the thing. See, I think every year, let's talk about Trump for a second, because I think you view Trump as more an existential threat than I do. Right? Can we acknowledge that?
I don't know that that's true.
You're voting, right?
I already voted.
Who'd you vote for?
Really, you got to ask that question?
Yeah. Who'd you vote for?
I voted for Biden.
Why?
For several reasons, but one of the main ones is there's no way in the world I would vote for Trump. I wouldn't care what he did.
But do you realize that that's not your only two choices?
I mean, yeah, I read the ballot. I went down the ballot, but who else? Why would I vote for any Kanye? Like, why would I vote for anybody other than? And who else would I write in?
I would tell you why.
To me, a no vote, even if I didn't vote, is a vote for Trump, and I just believe that.
It's not. I'm gonna break it down. I've said this before, and I said it first for those who've been watching and learning. Here's my thing. I'm gonna make 3 quick points. And I'm gonna let you go. Right. Number one, that's the biggest bullshit in the world. People say a vote for a no vote or a vote for anybody else, really a vote for Trump. It's bullshit because
no, it's not. But go ahead.
You ain't got to say that. Just let me finish my points.
Go for it.
All right. The election's tied. Right? Like that movie. It was down to 1 vote. Right? It's a tie election, hypothetically. My non-vote did not swing it to either person. It is literally a non-vote. And non-voting is a conscious choice, and it's a reasonable choice given the options you have available to you. Okay, that's point 1. Point 2, I forgot my point 2. Hold on. Point 2 was the reason why you would vote for somebody other than Trump or Biden this election, or Hillary, Trump last election, is that thinking long term, thinking about strategy long term, having a viable third party is more important than it is whether or not Trump got elected or not. And here's the case in point. They told us the same shit in 2016 that Trump was an existential threat, right? And mind you, he's had a horrible presidency. Is your life affected?
But is my life affected
negatively? Absolutely. By Trump? By Trump. How has Trump affected your life?
Tax-wise, absolutely.
You're probably better off.
Actually, I was worse off because of some of the changes, because of my income level, because of the changes that he's made benefited the super rich. So some of the changes in the tax code affected me where I had to pay more taxes. I paid more taxes. How do you go you want to see my checking account? No, and because here's the thing: if you give money to the rich, you got to take it from somewhere.
Okay, but here's the thing.
And that's
garden variety republicanism. That's not unique to Trump. George Bush had a huge track. Every Republican president does the same shit.
I was in high school when Bush was in office.
That ain't the point. The point is that they've made Trump to be some sort of existential threat, meaning a unique threat to our way of life. He is not. He's a Republican.
But look at what's happening socially because of what he's put out there.
Okay,
all the propaganda.
That's
Look at what's happening socially.
Okay, that's a fair point. But let's dig into that. That is also, I wouldn't say a good thing, but it's a thing we could take advantage of. Okay, because
right. I think we can, and that's why Ice Cube's thing is the timing is perfect. But at the same time, look at where we're at socially. To where now, I mean, I wasn't around for the 60s, but I imagine if we were pretty close to that.
Okay, so what I'm saying to make my point before you interrupted me was this social unrest, particularly, I think you were speaking specifically about from, let's call them white nationalists, militias, whatever you want to call it, right? They're active in the street right now because of Trump's messaging. And I will give you that, right? That does two things that can be advantageous for the movement, and I'm just gonna call it the movement in generic terms, long term. A, they have a leader now, because let's be honest too, these motherfuckers are stupid, right? These aren't the brightest of the the bunch.
You're absolutely right.
Right?
They're not very bright.
Now, that gives Trump, basically, he has their loyalty the way Democrats have the blacks' loyalty. Mute your shit, right? So, meaning that he's in a position where he can do a deal with black folks without facing any political repercussions because those folks are on his team, right?
Regardless.
And secondarily, where it presents an advantage is that this hostility culturally can get black folks in particular to start thinking, more about black power.
Right. But so here's the thing. You're right if we strategize appropriately. But don't make it sound like this was the plan.
But it is the plan if everybody listens to me and Ice Cube. And this is what I'm saying, because I've been consistent.
But I'm going to talk about my blueprint for reparations as well, but go for it.
Okay, so I've been consistent about voting, right? And I've been saying it for a while now. And I got to get my points out and without interruption because it's important.
If you stop smoking weed, you can remember them.
The point is, you have to step back and look at voting at the meta level, okay? And what I mean by that is, and I said this in my last episode, we have, for example, the movement or the latest round of protests being triggered by the murder of George Floyd over a long period of time. Everybody saw it, right? And then all this shit happened. There was, stuff happened. There's a defund movement. They blew up that police station, blah, blah. And now it seems we've all been corralled into the one revolutionary act we need to do is vote, right? Niggas been voting since the 13th or the 14th Amendment, whatever one that was. That has led us to where we are. So to me, it seems a super naive twist of logic to say that the system that both murdered George Floyd and elected Donald Trump can be fixed by pouring more of your energy and effort into that existing system, right? So if you look at it at a meta level, your vote high level, especially at the national level and the state level, it does not matter. In particular, in states that are non-competitive. And then that's what we need to do as a people is stop being so emotional, right? And start understanding that, hey, I live in California. I can read the fucking polls. Donald Trump has no shot. So that gives you power where you then can vote for third party. And we all vote for the same third party because if that third party can get 5% of the vote, then they qualify for federal matching funds. And that means that now we have another real player in the game besides Democrats and Republicans.
And what I do agree with, what Ice Cube said, is we don't need to be Republican or Democrat. We need to be independent. And the conversation I had with my nephew yesterday was that even though we make up the minority, what black people don't understand is that we can sway elections and we have power. We can sway the elections and we can move the economy. And I don't know if people understand that.
Well, but here's the thing. Black people in particular, especially black women, not to give them credit, but yeah, black people, in particular black women, are the most important Democratic constituency. There is no Democratic president getting elected without just like running up the score and that constituency, right? But so we already have the political power in so much as we affect outcomes. The problem is that we give it away for free because we get nothing in exchange for that. So therefore, you are literally wasting your vote, and it does not matter.
Okay, so historically, you're correct. Now, how do we move forward?
The contract with Black America.
Because to say here's my fear. So let's just say we had 5 million people watching us. On the surface, listen, on the surface, your comment is irresponsible because without context, it just sounds like don't go vote.
No, but I've been telling people in addition
that's
to
what I'm saying. You have to add context to it so people can understand that under the current system it may not matter, but it matters in how the power that we have. We have to change the system, and we have the power to do it.
But I'm always speaking in context. That's why I said what I said. There's a you can only say one thing. I don't have two mouths. I can't speak out of both sides at the same time. So I have to make that.
You do a lot of times, but go ahead.
I have to make that point, and I have to also tell people I have my own political party. It's called the American Farmers Party. You should join it, right? You have to put in the work, right? I donated several $100s to Bernie Sanders' campaign because I saw him as a difference maker politically, not because I like him, not because we look the same. It's because I understand that the purpose of government. I was having this debate with my homeboy Billy T today. You remember Billy T with the G, play linebacker. The only purpose other than defense, right? The purpose of government is to redistribute the wealth, right? So your vote is specifically to affect how the wealth is redistributed. That's it.
Okay.
So if we are to affect change through the vote such that it benefits our community in proportion to our vote, right, then we need to vote and think collectively as Black people, not Democrats or Republicans. Your vote is basically a chip you're willing to deal with Trump or whoever else.
So what needs to happen is after this election cycle, over the next one, we need to form, what am I trying to say?
A political action group or a new party, the American Farmers Party.
Right, correct.
But why after?
Huh?
Okay, you're saying because it's too close to election right now?
Correct.
All right, that's fine. But let's say we had a time machine. We can go back 6 months from before whatever, whenever Biden first became whatever, right? Because people are so emotional about Trump, I think he's the ideal person to negotiate with because there's such a distinct difference, at least rhetorically and culturally, meaning that if we're willing to reap the reward of this gamble, right? If we're willing to hold our chips and play this poker hand out, the Democrats would have to capitulate if we're willing to walk away. If right now today, if we had a million blacks in some big, like they had a million-man march tomorrow and niggas showed up and we said with no uncertain terms, Democrats and President Biden, we're telling you right now, not only would we not vote, we will vote for Trump and ask for nothing in return if you don't sign this right here, a contract binding you to X, Y, and Z. Absolutely, they would do it. But if you keep being mushy mouth, you keep being like the biggest, is our biggest concern that Trump does not get elected or that we get the contract for Black America enacted? If you had to pick one.
I think the most important part is to get the contract with Black America.
There you go. And that's how you get it, is through leverage.
Right. I agree. 100%.
Do you agree with me?
Absolutely, I do. So
you would vote for Trump if that netted you the outcome of the contract being enacted.
If it was going to narrow the wealth gap, if it was going to systematically put things in place that's going to not only but protect us.
What's the contract with Black America?
The contract with Black America, a comprehensive bill for reparations. I'm not talking about just giving people cash. That's not what I'm talking. When I say reparations, that's not my idea of reparations. So if we had that coming and that was going to affect us for generations to come, absolutely.
All right, that's a good segue. I want to read a little bit because it sounds like reparations to me, basically, just with a different wording. But in the contract of Black America, I'm gonna read this part here on the federal funding. And here's the thing too. I think what we should do, honestly, I don't know what your schedule's like. I think this thing is like right now today, we're half hour in, and I want to be on time tonight, so I want to cut it at an hour. So we're just kind of skimming the surface, just conceptually about voting, the contract, and what have you. But I think this platform is something we can just dissect and have each little tab on the contract of Black America could be a show that you can go in depth on.
Right. So, okay. And I want you to come on my show on Sunday and we can dissect it.
Okay. So let me do the screen share. I'm going to read this with the audience. Here we go. Hopefully my shit don't lock up. All right. So if it, mute your thing. So under a contract with Black America, it says the way it's set up. By the way, if y'all can't see the screen, the website looks really dope. I like the color scheme. So basically, they have tabs on the left, 1 through 13, with a a topic for that chapter, so to speak. So right now, I'm reading under chapter 3, federal funding. And the thing that's cool about it, you have a lot of there, but it's not too wonky. So it's an easy read. So it's more conceptual and broad strokes versus like policy, which can get, pretty detailed and hard to read. So federal funding of baby bonds. I love this right here. Pass federal program with every child with a government funded trust account at birth. And when we're talking about every child, we're talking about every Black child, starting with a $1,000 contribution. As proposed by Senator Cory Booker and Representative Presley, accounts to be managed by the Treasury, and only those born in lower wealth families will receive more contributions each year, up to $46,500 total. At age 18, access to the funds is allowed, but use restricted to asset enhancing actions such as buying homes, starting businesses, and funding education. So essentially, each child each Black child born to a qualifying family, so obviously if you're wealthy, you don't need that package, is going to have something at the start of a savings account with $1,000, which can be added to over time if they so I take it back, everybody gets it, and the lower income keep getting it all the way up to $46,000. I think that's a brilliant idea. What do you think about that?
I have no argument. Go ahead.
I'm going to read
Keep
some
breaking
more.
it down.
Representation. This is the... All right. Let me do the screen share real quick so everybody can see it. Now, I didn't get a chance to read all of it, but check this out. Bank lending will be regulated to require banks to lend a percentage of all loan and credit categories on equal basis to the Black population each bank serves. However, the minimum threshold must yearly meet the percentage equal to the national Black population, currently 13.5%. Rates on Black loans federally and from banks to be the same average rates as whites. Dude, this is what I've been saying the whole time. And it ain't about how many niggas you got on NBC in prime time or how many racist things Trump says. It's about money. It's about the wealth gap. It's about power. So if you had banks had to give 13.5% of their loans out to Black folks, that would revolutionary change life in America. And here's the thing. It only could happen if you vote Black, not vote Democrat or vote Republican, but basically sell your vote to the highest bidder and whoever you can get the most certain terms with.
I agree. So I think it's a well thought out plan, but you're right. Do we have? Will we get it under this current voting structure and how we see things? No, I don't know. I don't know that we will.
Well, I think what we need to do is have more. We need to make this platform actionable, meaning that it can percolate from the lower level So the same way we can all like say Black Lives Matter almost just reflexively at the right time, people need to recite and understand the contract with Black America and how that's going to inform and actually basically motivate and push our vote will be to this, right? So we've got to be able to structure our thoughts such that right now, today, we're thinking about 2024. And before 2024 is going to be 2022, the midterms, and your local state level is how we're going to actually get this thing. The same way, like every election, there's a theme, right? It'll be like the environment, it'll be, foreign policy. There might be a war going on, or it's the coronavirus. Like now, we need to make the contract of Black America a theme where the Democrat and the Republican are competing to be, the way they compete to be pro-Israel. Like neither party is anti-Israel, right? They're just tripping over their dicks to figure out who could be to say the most pro-Israel thing. We want both parties to trip over the dicks to be in favor of the contract with Black America. And the only way we can accomplish that is to really be willing to vote Republican if necessary.
Right. Now, let me see what you think about this. As you know, politicians are going to worry about their constituents, meaning their base and so forth. In my opinion, if you're going to sell this, people have to realize that doing this for Black America improves everything for everybody. And I don't know that people will understand that.
Well,
here's what I mean by that. In the sense that if you strengthen our community, meaning the Black community, by following this plan, it essentially makes it better for everybody.
But
and I'm not saying that
every time I start talking, you start talking.
I'm not saying this is to be inclusive. This is exclusively for Black America. What I'm saying is people, Republicans or whoever, will shy away from it because of the noise they're going to get from other groups.
Here's the thing, but I hear what you're saying. It's not about whether or not it's good or bad for the. That's not the issue. You don't want to make
that's
it.
Not the issue.
Don't come my sight for God. Let me finish. I'm gonna forget this point if you interrupt me one more goddamn time. All right.
Stuff.
You made the point about the right point, but I'm gonna tell you what the right solution is to that point or how you mitigate that. What you said was politicians are going to react and serve their constituents. So in the inference, what you're saying was the reason why Republicans won't work with Black people is because it's going to be adverse to their constituents. They're going to get a negative reaction, right, and lose votes.
Right.
Right. So the solution is to vote Republican. Become their constituent. You don't do it not loyally. What I'm saying is right now today, especially in an election like this with Trump, right, where you have the most impact. Let me just relax. Where you have the most impact because of the fear of Trump. If right now you can control the way Black people vote, or even 30% of them, 40% of them, right, where you had this mob, they all followed Jonathan Beauregard, without even talking to Republican, this is what you could say. We're not even going to go because we're so fed up. This is what we're going to do as a presentation of power. We're all going to vote for Donald Trump. And if we all vote for Donald Trump, he's going to win. That's just the math, right? And you tell the Democratic Party, we are indicting you for your inaction for the last 65 years. With our undying loyalty, we've got nothing. So this is how we're going to make you pay. We're going to vote for Donald Trump and you're going to lose. Come 2024, you better be crawling your knees begging, can you sign this contract? And we'll decide if we want to or not. Because once we do this, then you realize we're not playing. That's how you exercise political power.
Right. I agree.
Do you?
I do. I don't understand. I'm not going to argue with you for the sake of argument's sake. So going back to my point, for some reason, and this is more of a layman's point or more conventional, when people, meaning non-black people, see that the fear is always, if you give it to them, I'm losing out on something.
Right.
So they believe that if we win, they lose. The fact of the matter is, if we win, everybody wins.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
It is. It's absolutely true.
Well, people are, no, that's not true.
Even if it's just in the mindset, think about it. If you go with the notion that African Americans is disproportionately on the bad side of everything, right? So when it comes to economics, when it comes to everything that they talk about, how is it not going to benefit society or benefit everyone socially to elevate what would be the poorest community in America? Why wouldn't it benefit everyone? The problem is most people
that was rhetorical.
Most people think that if we win, they lose, and that's just not true.
It is. Well, it's not an absolute, but it's a factor. For example, right? Let's do a real example. Black people are like I said, they are committed Democrats, holistically, right? The Democratic Party is holistically, emphatically pro Latin and Central American immigration, right? Let's just take that at face value. Let's just say that is the case, right? Like open borders, whatever. The fact of the matter is that black people are going to get job displacement because of lower wage folks who are undocumented. Not that I'm not demonizing them. I'm just saying that's just how pies are divided. And if you take what you're saying out to its logical conclusion, as poor blacks start moving up and become wealthier blacks, right? Then they start qualifying for bank loans and get, better SAT scores and get more seats in these elite universities. These things are finite. The pie doesn't just keep growing. Like even in a good economy, let's say it's a 5% growth rate, but if you lift black people up by 30%, then 25%, I'm doing the math like, whatever. But some people that would have got loans aren't getting those loans now. And that's fine. But I don't think we should worry about how white people feel about it. It's an exercise of political power.
I'm not saying we should worry about it. That's not what I'm saying.
But no, what you're saying is, you were saying that the messaging should show, we should try to convince others that the empowerment of blacks is good for everybody. It's not necessarily good for everybody.
It absolutely is.
I just showed you how it's not. On a whole level, yes. But I'm saying in anything, yes, you're right. The general thrust is better, right? But for example, I think higher taxes are better on the wealthy, right? I think you can mathematically show how if we had a 70% tax rate on those that made over $1 million a year in income, we would be better off for society. Why? Obvious. There'd be more income to redistribute for people in fund programs, right? So it's better for the country, right? Is it better for people who make more than $1 million a year? No. And that's okay.
Right.
So I'm saying, to your point, not every white person will do better in a world where black people are doing better.
Okay. But you're only thinking economics. I'm thinking globally. I'm not thinking just economics.
Everything's economics, man.
Okay. Follow me if you will. Okay. Here's what I'm saying. The contract with Black America, I think it's a good thing, right? What I think the push will be, and this is just me speculating, what I think the push will be, regardless of what party, is whether Republican or Democrat, are they willing to push this forward at the risk of their own, not only political views, their constituents, their beliefs, so forth, X, Y, and Z.
Let me ask you a question. The Democratic Party is, do you agree with this? The Democratic Party is basically majority minority people party now.
I mean, I don't know that to be true, but I would assume so. Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this: a Democratic candidate running for president now, we're talking about national election, right? Does he or she face any negative consequences by saying good things about black people and Black Lives Matter, are they going to lose Democrats for that? Okay.
No.
So I agree with you. So if that's the case, why would the Biden campaign tell Ice Cube, we don't want to talk about it now, we'll talk to you after election?
And my point is, when you say we'll vote Republican, that's my whole point. I'm not speaking.
No, answer my question. Answer my question. It wasn't rhetorical. I want you to answer it.
Ask the question again.
Given the premise, we agreed on that, there would be no downside to saying whatever pro-black thing is a Democrat running for office from Democrats, right? Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, why would the Biden campaign, not the Trump campaign, because they were delving more into it. No, let me finish. Why would the Biden campaign not wholeheartedly just embrace the contract with Black America?
They didn't, because for what we already know.
Which is what?
Because they don't have to.
Right. Well, I would say it even different than that, because they have no intention on it.
Well, and I don't know. I would hope so, but you're probably right.
So, I guess my point.
But that doesn't mean that the Trump administration has any intent either.
No, it doesn't. I don't know. They don't. But what I'm saying is the idea that something's going to happen after election is just nonsense. Because if they wanted to do it, they would embrace it right now.
I agree.
So let me ask you this. Let's say Biden wins. I mean, there's probably 90% chance plus he's going to win, right? Where do you see this particular issue, the contract with Black America, being on the national scene as far as what a Democrat in the White House, they have the Congress, and they have a shot at the Senate, so they might have all three branches. Where would this be in the pecking order of things that Biden is worried about?
I would have to struggle to say it would be even in the top 10.
Do you think there's any way to nudge a Biden administration into the direction
I think there is a way. Do I believe there's a way? Sure. But
what is that way?
I don't know yet. I don't know.
Here's what, remember what we said earlier was we tell people to do this and blah 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 blah. We need to have a plan, right?
We have a plan to form a third party.
Here is the Farmer Hodge to God plan. I think third party is like an ongoing thing. I'm saying specifically for the contract of Black America as relates to the 2024 election. 2020 is over. Biden's going to win. They're talking about 2024. Here's the one thing we know about politicians and political parties. They like power and they don't want to give up power. So Biden wins, Democrat wins, and let's say they get the Senate too. They got all three branches. So this is the no excuse time. You can pack the court, you do whatever you want, right? We say in no uncertain terms, with the membership and the commitment and the financial resources to back it, we say to the Democrats, you will make this baked into the Democratic Party platform, and we want to see bills passed. We don't want to see nothing else occur except for the contract of Black America. You do it now while you control all three branches, or else we're going to give away our votes to the Republican, whoever it is, in 2024, just so you know we're serious. That's the way you make it happen.
Right.
And the only way.
Absolutely.
So
the black vote, the black community has the power to do it.
They do. Here's the one thing that we got to be careful of, though, right? And here's where I think it can get off the rails. And this is why and you got to read the whole thing. And I think, like I said, we can do a separate show on each tab. So this 13 shows right there, right? I'm not as prepared as I wanted to be tonight, because the next one we do it again, I'm actually read one tab and go into it. But anyway, here's where I think the risk is. And I always talk about Black Lives Matter. I'm going to go back to that a little bit. Look at me. What are you reading?
I'm listening, nigga.
You listen with your eyes too, nigga.
I can multitask.
When shit starts getting getting fuzzy, and when black like if it ain't just about black, right? When you start subdividing into if you lump gender and sexuality and trans issues all as part of it, like where it becomes intersectional, I think it goes away, right? So what we got to do as far as the demand goes, it's got to be one voice, or you're wasting your time.
I agree. And and I think Ice Cube, when he made that point, he's not talking diversity. He's not talking people of color. He's talking descendants of slaves. He's talking Black America. I agree 100%.
The only problem I have with this statement, because I love this point about
what I think, no, just to finish my point, and I think what happens is every movement that we've created, people hijack it, jump on the bandwagon, and it dilutes the original movement.
So let me finish my point. The only problem I had, because I loved everything he said about what we're not talking about, but when he said descendants of slaves, right? I don't like anything that separates us from Africans, because I'm a Pan-Africanist first.
Okay.
So we gotta be careful. We are saying descendants of slaves, but I think when you touch ground in this country, when your feet hit the ground, coming from Ghana, Mozambique, wherever, you my brother.
I would assume he understands that.
No, I think there's a movement right now. He's saying he said that verbiage specifically. He's not saying that. He's saying the opposite, that we're specifically talking about black descendants of slaves.
Okay.
And the reason why I disagree on that, that's the one thing so far. There's one other point I want to find it before we end this show. Was one piece of language I think it needs to correct in addition to some of the typos. But the reason why I disagree with him and other people who are more black nativists in so much as we're like our own unique nation or whatever, as opposed to being Pan-Africanists, is that A, it dilutes your power, right? And then B, we're not seeing the connection between slavery and colonization, right? Yeah, we had slavery, but they had colonization, apartheid, and all that shit. So they were just like, two halves of the same sword. You see what I'm saying? Like, we suffered together as a people. They still are brothers and our sisters.
Okay.
You talk, boy.
I got it. No, I'm good. I agree. So, the next show, what are we going to tackle when it comes to the contract with Black America?
Well, number one, compile some of the because you mentioned D.L. Hughley or whatever. Let's get a few more examples, right? Talk about what the narrative is, right? Because look, I can't talk if you're looking away because it throws me off.
I'm on the website, man.
If we talk about because we can start to see the way narratives are being formed. Like you said, D.L. Hughley said something. Whatever the criticism is of Cube, let's start to kind of like analog that, and we can reference some of that, and then we could talk about people who are in support of him, and just see where the conversation's going, and then what actions we can do. And then I'm gonna read through this, and we can just text and email to each other. Let's pick one or two of the tabs and delve into the specificity, at a real, lower level, and talk about how this can manifest in real life.
Absolutely.
Talk now. I got to find this thing.
No, I'm with you.
No, I want you to come up with the goddamn.
Well, because I want to save it for my show, because I didn't, obviously I don't have a website, and I didn't go into.
Is that a shot at me?
No, what I'm saying is I didn't go into detail, but my blueprint for reparations is very similar to Cube's, and I want to dissect that as well. I mean, just because I think reparations has come up over the last several years, I think when people hear reparations, they think money and they just think cash. I think it needs to be systematic reparations.
Well, here that's a good segue. Let me read. I'm gonna read the. I found where I was talking about the thing I want to kind of criticize, but I like the rest of it because this is what the contract with Black America is. Most of you read the shit is financial nature, aka reparations, but not said in those words that are going to provoke people. Like you saying, he's saying it in a way that people can get behind because it's obfuscated. It's not obvious. He's talking about, like, for example, let me do the screen share right here. I'm gonna read it to you. Read along. So I'm on Ice Cube's website. I'm on the tab Federal Reserve. So it's tab number. Let me see. It's tab 4. So it starts off for qualified Black Americans, and that's my problem right there. I love the rest of it, but it's that first little intro for qualified Black Americans. That's where they can do the fuck shit. Because we know with anything, any loan, any kind of application, what is a qualification, right? And that's how they get you. But the rest of it's good. Federal Reserve to allow a one-time interest-free loan for home ownership. The Fed to ensure banks and institutions it oversees comply with bank lending reform. Again, this is high level, so you got to delve into what is bank lending reform, and that could be something topical for next show. Fed to adopt modern monetary theory with goal of full employment and avoidance of actual inflation. So that's a reference. I've heard of that, but that's something we would read and be able to talk in depth about, right? Federal and state pension funds control over $1 trillion. They must allocate 13.5% of their investments into Black-owned enterprises and businesses. Venture capital and private equity funds that take money, public entities must invest 13.5% of their total funds in Black-owned businesses. So, said in different terms, sounds like reparations.
Right. Absolutely.
Without saying the word.
Right.
And it harkens back to what I was saying before, wealth redistribution.
Right. So to kind of going back just a little bit, the thing that irks me is people have a knee-jerk reaction without knowing facts, without knowing details, without knowing content or context. And the next thing you know, you got us fighting in the media. And that bothers me.
The other thing that bothers me too, and we're winding down now, and I want you to talk about your platform here real quick before we sign off, is the problem is what like I like D.L. Hughley overall, but there seems to be a box from which Black people are kept that are allowed to speak on issues on TV, and it's basically Democratic Party insider. Like they corral your outrage into acceptable things. You can be mad at the police and Republicans, right? You're not allowed as a Black man on TV to be mad at the Democrats. It's just not a lane for that. Right.
No, I get it. So let me say this, and it's a little bit off topic, just a little bit, is that
you got 1 minute.
I personally believe that after this dude is out of power, whether it's this election cycle or the next one, that he has weakened the Republican Party. And the moment he's out of power, they're going to have repercussions, and they're going to have to pay the piper.
You're right. I mean, here's the thing, and this is where we can gain power, right? While they're down, their low spot, when they lose, because they're going to lose to Biden, right? We do what I say. We make the threat to Biden. Then they're like, yeah, right. You know, we call your bluff, right? Then we go to Republicans when they are weak, and we say, you want to wait 20 years to get back in power, or you want to do a deal with us?
Right.
So what's your name? Tell them about your podcast.
So Sunday, 7 o'clock Pacific time, Indestructible Souls. This week, I'm going to, me and Farmer Hodge is going to break down more of Cube's contract with Black America. But the platform is mental wellness for African-American males, men, young men, boys, and all that good stuff. And check me out Sundays, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock what?
7 o'clock Pacific time.
And he's saying Pacific, not because he can't say the word specific, but it's Pacific time pacifically. Do you understand what I'm saying? Pacifically. All right, we stayed under the hour. I'm gonna say peace, y'all. This is my man JB. We're gonna make this a series. I don't know what his availability is, but it's set up there, and we can just delve into the shit. I'm gonna put the link in the comments, and we can talk about some more. All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.